Discover the incredible transformation of Medusa. A heartwarming, life-changing journey revealed. Medusa stood in her art-filled living room, the sun flickering through the dusty windows like a spotlight. With each stroke of her brush, she poured her soul into the canvas. Yet, the weight of bills and whispers from the neighbors hung in the air, more oppressive than the humidity outside. Her hair, an unmistakable mess of curls, seemed to reflect her chaotic thoughts clashing with the orderly lives of those around her in their pristine homes. But beneath that wild exterior lay a woman desperate to change her world, to prove that art could revive the heart of her struggling community. The townsfolk, from the bakery owner to the butcher down the street, often cast sideways glances her way, puzzled by her ambition. They saw her dreams as fanciful, utterly impractical. Why would a painter seek to illuminate their mundane existence? But Medusa's heart was tenacious, fueled by the unwavering love and encouragement from her grandmother, who still filled the house with tales of hope. "Chase your dreams, my sweet girl," she would say, her voice firm yet soft, a beacon illuminating the shadowy corners of doubt. Then came the challenge of opening a community art center. She believed it could bring people together, mend the town's frayed tapestry. But just as quickly as her dreams soared, a harsh reality grounded them. A town council member, a staunch traditionalist named Mr. Thompson, declared that artists like her had no rightful place in the spotlight. His words echoed through her heart, a painful reminder of how easily passion could be overshadowed by skepticism. Funding for her project was denied, rejection seeping like poison through her veins. Dismayed, she looked at her grandmother, whose eyes seemed to hold the weight of 1,000 untold stories, secrets buried under years of prejudice. It tore at Medusa's heart, knowing her drive for change could fracture their bond. But rather than sink into despair, she felt a flicker of purpose growing within her. In a moment of vulnerability, she turned to her neighbors, many of whom bore burdens of their own. Together, they pooled their energies to create something beautiful. A shared art class bloomed, brushstrokes uniting like hearts in conversation. The laughter and chatter filled the room, reshaping their relationships, igniting old flames of creativity. Each creation told a story, an unearthing of hidden talents and dreams awaiting discovery. But with every mural they painted, Medusa unearthed unsettling truths about her grandmother's past times, when society cast judgment on different, struggling souls. She couldn't help but confront the pain all those secrets held. "I'm not just fighting for us," she realized one evening, paint still fresh on her hands. "I'm fighting for our history." Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The day of the art installation arrived, bathed in golden sunlight, every brushstroke on her canvas glimmering with the spirit of their journey. The crowd gathered, emotions thick in the air as Medusa stood ready to unveil her work, a visual narrative of love, prejudice, and timeless connections. As they leaned in, drawn to the raw beauty of her creation, her phone rang, the jarring sound slicing through the moment of unity. What was on the other side? Would love and understanding finally align? Would the past's grip tighten? Or would it loosen its hold? The weight of truth loomed closer, and with it, Medusa's story was far from over. As Medusa fumbled for her phone, her heart raced. She glanced at the screen, an unknown number. The crowd, sensing her sudden shift in energy, had momentarily halted its buzz. Faces turned toward her, eyes filled with curiosity and worry. The moment hung thick in the air, almost palpable, as if the vibrant colors of her canvas had merged into a single shade of apprehension. She took a deep breath, steadying herself, hoping for words of approval from the other side. Maybe it was a long-lost friend, ready to celebrate her triumph. Or perhaps it was an opportunity beyond her wildest dreams. With a hesitant swipe, she answered. "Hello, Medusa?" It's Rebecca from the council. Her voice was cool and edged with formality. I need to talk to you about the art installation. At once, the crowd faded into the background. The whispers of admiration and murmurs of delight blurred, leaving only the echo of Rebecca's words. Medusa's stomach dropped. This could either be the lifeline she needed or another blow to her fragile hope. What's wrong? She managed to ask, trying to keep her tone steady. There has been some talk, and we'd like to meet, Rebecca replied. I understand your installation has garnered attention. These things can stir up strong feelings. Medusa felt a flicker of frustration. Hadn't they passed that hurdle? She had gathered the community, made them see each other in a way they hadn't in years. And now they were going to stifle that connection? A heaviness settled on her shoulders. I'm just trying to bring us together, she replied quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. Look, Medusa, I appreciate your passion. But the objections, knowing Rebecca well, Medusa interjected. Objections? Who is objecting? Is it Mr. Thompson? The silence that followed was a resounding confirmation. Of course. He has always been against change, Medusa muttered to herself. This was not just about art anymore. It was a battle against the fear of transformation. A battle she felt ready to fight. Gathering herself, she glanced once more at the vibrant canvas showcasing struggles and victories, bound by the threads of their shared history. Tell Mr. Thompson that this project is more than just art. It's a reflection of our community's heart. I will not back down. Before Rebecca could respond, Medusa hung up. The energy of the crowd began to seep back in, voices building, laughter ringing in the air again. She realized that even if the council turned their backs, her community had already rallied behind her vision. As she faced the audience, she felt something shift within her, a blaze of determination igniting her spirit. The moment of revealing her artwork loomed, and she realized it wasn't just about showcasing her work. It was about galvanizing those around her, merging their battles and their stories into one vibrant narrative. Ladies and gentlemen, she called out, her voice steady and clear. What you see here is not just paint on a canvas. It is a celebration of who we are. But it needs more. It needs your voices, your courage. The crowd erupted in applause, some even calling out from the back, urging her to go on. Together, we can resist those who say we don't belong. Together, we can paint a future that respects our history while using it to create something magnificent. The cheers grew louder, filling Medusa with a sense of possibility. But in that moment of triumph, her heart skipped as she caught a glimpse of Mr. Thompson, standing in the shadows at the edge of the gallery. His expression was unreadable, but she could sense the weight of his disapproval in the way he folded his arms tightly across his chest. What would he do next? Could this transformation really be enough to sway a man like him? Medusa's heartbeat quickened again, the vibrant room swirling around her as a new battle loomed on the horizon. Would she be able to bridge the gap between art and tradition, or would her dreams fade like the colors left too long in the sun? The stakes had never been higher, and as she met Thompson's gaze, the question lingered: was she prepared for the fight ahead? The applause seemed to echo in infinite layers around her, a comforting blanket against the chill of uncertainty descending. Medusa took a moment to soak in the warmth of the crowd's support. Their smiles were beacons, reminding her why she had poured her heart into this installation, a celebration, a challenge, a call to arms against those who resisted change. Yet, that flicker of doubt still twisted in her gut as she refocused on Mr. Thompson. He stood firm, a solitary figure against the vibrant backdrop of her work, an anchor of opposition. She could see the lines of experience etched into his face, the soul of a man shaped by years of rigid beliefs. Did he even know how deeply his stance affected the community? With a breath, Medusa wove her way through the crowd, determined to confront the very barrier that threatened to tear them apart. As she approached, the clamor quieted, the audience anticipating the moment. She didn't want to fight him. She wanted to understand, to reach across the divide that separated them, to find common ground. Mr. Thompson, she said, her voice steady but soft. Can we talk? He didn't respond immediately, just studied her with that penetrating gaze. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he nodded, reluctantly accepting her invitation. They slipped outside, the evening air crisp and carrying a scent of blooming jasmine from nearby gardens. "Why do you oppose this?" she asked, her heart racing. "You've been a part of this community long enough to know we need each other." Thompson looked away, unwilling to meet her searching eyes. "It's not that simple, Medusa. Change breeds chaos, and chaos it leads to uncertainty. We can't just erase the past." "I'm not trying to erase anything," she countered, her patience thinning. "This installation isn't just about colors and shapes. It's about honoring our history while moving forward. Can't you see that?" He sighed deeply, the weight of years resting heavily on his shoulders. "You young people think you can fix everything with art and idealism. This community has traditions. Those traditions hold us together. Then let the art breathe new life into them," she pleaded. "What if we used this to celebrate our traditions, not disregard them?" The urgency to make him see was overwhelming. Her entire body tensed with the need to connect. But Mr. Thompson remained resolute, shaking his head slowly. "Change can be destructive, Medusa, can tear communities apart." Her words hung in the air, and she felt a rush of frustration followed by an uncanny sadness. "Like it has been for you?" she asked gently, noticing the shadow of a personal struggle lurking behind his stoicism. For a moment, she swore she saw something shift in him, a crack in the armor, vulnerability. But just as quickly, it was gone, replaced by the familiar defensive posture she'd noticed before. "My family built this community. They would be ashamed to see it compromised by flashy art." He snapped, then turned his back, walking away with a heavy step. Medusa stood frozen, her chest tightening. The weight of his words lingered, echoing painfully in her heart. Was community strength built on unyielding tradition or on the willingness to adapt and evolve together? With the sounds of the crowd behind her, the applause still ringing faintly in her ears, she realized that this battle was more personal than she had anticipated. It wasn't just about art. It was about healing. Taking a deep breath, she faced the crowd once more, determination surging through her. She felt an urgency to fight harder, to ignite the passion within everyone gathered. Medusa was ready to lead them into the fray, to confront not only Mr. Thompson but the shadow of stagnation threatening to pull them all back into darkness. That as she climbed back onto the makeshift stage, her voice was a rallying cry. "We have a choice: to adapt, to fight, to create a future that honors who we are while dreaming of who we can be." But as the crowd grew more animated, an unexpected figure appeared behind her, Rebecca, looking both urgent and pale. "Medusa," she whispered. "Urgently, we need to talk. There's something happening with the council that you need to know right now." The glimmer of hope, the swell of community pride, suddenly stood on a precipice lined with uncertainty. What revelation could Rebecca possibly bring that could change the course of everything? Medusa turned, her expression shifting from fire to worry as she faced Rebecca. The urgency in her friend's eyes held a weight that filled the air with tension. "What's going on?" Medusa asked quietly, drawing Rebecca away from the bustling crowd. She could feel the energy of the gathering behind her, a vibrant tapestry woven with hope, yet it felt fragile now, as if a storm was brewing on the horizon. Rebecca glanced over her shoulder, then leaned in closer. "I just overheard a few council members. They're planning to shut down the installation, maybe even the whole community art project. They think it'll distract from the town's proper image." "What? No." The words fell from Medusa's lips like a sudden chill, making her heart race. "Not now. Not after everything." Her mind raced, scenes of vibrant colors, and the warmth of shared laughter flashing in her mind. It represented more than art. It was about connection, rebirth, and authenticity. "They don't understand." Rebecca, Medusa pressed, grabbing her friend's arm. "It's not just art. It's our voices, our future. I can't let them do this." Determination surged again, and she felt the pulse of the crowd behind her, their support a steady drumbeat against the encroaching darkness. "I know," Rebecca said softly, "but we need a plan. This isn't about just convincing Mr. Thompson anymore. If the council goes through with this, it could set back everything we've worked for. Medusa inhaled deeply, the weight of Rebecca's words pinning her down. What if we show them what this really means? Art isn't just paint on a wall. It's life. It's healing. It's our community coming together in a way that honors our past and embraces our future. Rebecca nodded slowly, a flicker of hope igniting in her eyes. We can organize a demonstration, gather stories, share messages, show the council how much this matters. A soft gasp escaped Medusa's lips as a plan began to take shape in her mind. We'll invite everyone to share their stories about what art means to them, families, children, even Mr. Thompson. If we can make them see what we feel, yes. If we can bring in that emotional connection, it would be hard for even them to ignore it, Rebecca agreed, her enthusiasm bubbling up. Medusa lifted her chin, feeling the embers of resilience flare within her. Then let us get to work. We can't let fear snuff out our light. As they regrouped, she started gathering ideas and strategies, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and hope. Each neighbor they spoke to filled her with strength. Every shared experience became a thread pulling them tighter as a community. She could see the shift happening, a growing support that began to ripple outward. But even as they gathered stories, another thought haunted her, threading through her excitement like a shadow. If she managed to persuade the council, would that change Mr. Thompson's heart as well? After all, he had been carrying the weight of tradition for so long. What would it take to help him see the beauty in letting go just a little? Later, as the sun began to set, spilling golden light across the town, Medusa felt an exhilarating mixture of fear and courage simmering within her. They had a chance to not only save the installation but to reshape the narrative of their community. Let us meet tomorrow night, she told Rebecca. We'll finalize everything. I want to show Mr. Thompson what change can really look like, how we can honor the past while looking towards the future. Just as they were about to re-enter the crowd, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was Walter, a quiet artist, someone Medusa had often admired from afar. His eyes were intense, filled with a determination she hadn't seen before. I want to help too, he said simply. As his words sank in, Medusa realized that the momentum was building faster than she had imagined. People were speaking up, joining together for a cause. But before she could respond, Rebecca noticed the shift in the atmosphere, her face paling again slightly. Medusa, look over there. Mr. Thompson is watching us. The weight of all their hopes hung in the balance as Medusa faced the man who had become a measure of their struggle. Could she really change his mind? Or would his resistance prove to be a barrier too great to overcome? And was she ready to face whatever might come next? Medusa turned, her heart racing, as she forced herself to meet Mr. Thompson's gaze. He stood there, arms crossed, a picture of skepticism. The crowd faded away, their cheers and laughter distant echoes. In that moment, it felt like just the two of them were in a silent battle of wills. What are you doing? Rebecca whispered, nudging Medusa and snapping her back to the moment. I need to talk to him, Medusa replied, her voice steady but uncertain. He needs to understand what this means. Nervous energy pumped through her veins as she took a few determined steps towards the councilman. Each step was a small rebellion against the fear threatening to paralyze her. She could see him scowling, perhaps questioning why she thought she could change things. Mr. Thompson? She called out, her voice cutting through the murmur of the crowd. He turned slightly, acknowledging her but not with kindness. What do you want, Medusa? He asked, eyes narrowed. Just give me a moment, she said, the words tumbling out. Please. I know you care about this community. We all do. But art doesn't just decorate our town. It brings us together. It gives us a voice. He shifted, still not convinced. You don't understand the implications. This is about maintaining order. Tradition. Her heart thudded in her chest. Tradition can live alongside change, Mr. Thompson. Look around. This project isn't just paint its life. It's what makes our community vibrant and whole. As she gestured back towards the crowd, she could see the hopeful faces staring back at her. Neighbors, children, families all gathered together in support. Their energy was palpable, a wave of warmth washing over her. But Mr. Thompson's face remained impassive. The installation is just a distraction. A distraction? Medusa felt anger bubbling up. No, it's healing. I've seen people come alive through art. People who felt lost or alone finding connection, purpose. And it's not about hiding away in tradition. It's about celebrating our roots while allowing growth. The anxiety she once felt began to morph into fire. With every word, she pushed harder, driven by a deep-seated belief that this could change everything. Walter approached, his presence grounding. Mr. Thompson, he spoke softly but firmly. Art has this unique way of telling stories, even ones buried deep in our communal heart. You've seen the changes in some of us. Would you want to return to a past that silenced those stories? Mr. Thompson's expression flickered. Maybe a hint of conflict crossed his features. Medusa seized the moment. Help us, she pleaded. Let us show you. Let us share stories, real stories that show the impact of this project. We just need a chance. Imagine what you could witness, the lives you could see transformed. The crowd was hushed, hanging on each word. She felt the support behind her solidify, as if the very fabric of their community was weaving itself tighter. For a long moment, silence hung heavily between them. Medusa held her breath, waiting for any sign. All right, he finally said, his voice measured. You have 1 week. But if this fails, don't expect another chance. Relief and exhilaration washed over Medusa, but uncertainty still lurked underneath. He was willing to consider it, but what if it wasn't enough? Can we really do it, Medusa? Rebecca's voice quivered with excitement and trepidation. Medusa turned, her heart finally beginning to settle but filled with urgency. We can. We must. This is just the beginning. As the energy picked up, Medusa's mind raced with a million thoughts. They needed to gather stories, reach out to everyone. But another thought lingered. What if they failed in those 7 days? As the sun dipped lower in the sky, a flame of determination ignited in Medusa's chest. She was ready to fight for this, stepping into the battle ahead. Yet, as they moved back into the crowd, she couldn't shake the feeling that the real challenge was yet to come. What would it take to show them the true power of art? And more critically, would it still be enough to change Mr. Thompson's heart? The week ahead loomed like a giant clock ticking down to an uncertain finish. Medusa felt the weight of time pressing against her chest, each tick a reminder of the pressure they now faced. The sun had set, leaving a twilight haze that hung heavily over the community park, its canvas for the upcoming art installation. She glanced at the mural waiting to be painted, envisioning all the stories that would soon splash across its surface. Inspiration pulsed within her, but she needed more than just hope. All right, everyone. Medusa called out to the small group that had gathered, her voice steady yet vibrant. If we want to change minds, we need to start gathering our stories. Let us reach out to everyone we can. Rebecca stepped forward, eyes shining with excitement. Let us make a list. We can interview people, film their experiences. We show Mr. Thompson how impactful this art can be. A collective murmur of agreement swept through the crowd, and Medusa felt a surge of energy. It was as if they were all weaving together a tapestry of hope and possibility, each story a thread that would strengthen their cause. They began throwing out ideas, brainstorming ways to connect with the community. Within the hour, they had a plan. Not just a few testimonials, but a series of interviews that would highlight the diverse and untold experiences of their neighbors. As the sun rose the next day, Medusa felt reinvigorated. She and Rebecca wielded cameras, notebooks, and their passion as they knocked on doors, gathered stories, and delved into the lives of those who had been touched by art. They listened to tales of grief, hope, love, and transformation. Each encounter filled her heart, reminding her why they were fighting. I've never shared this before, an elderly lady named Joan told them, her voice trembling. But after my husband passed, I would come here to paint. It helped me breathe again. Medusa's chest tightened as she felt Joan's pain. That's beautiful, she whispered. We're so glad you found a way to express yourself. By the end of the day, they had accumulated a wealth of poignant stories. Each one embodied the spirit of their community. But deep down, A gnawing worry remained: would Mr. Thompson truly understand the significance of what they were presenting? As the weeks sped by, so too did moments of doubt. The group faced misunderstandings and resistance from some community members who clung tightly to the idea of tradition. Each disagreement felt like a setback, but every bit of support pushed them ahead. A little boy, full of freckles and laughter, suddenly ran up to Medusa one afternoon, clutching a crayon drawing. "Look, Miss Medusa, this is our town with colors. It looks happy." Her heart soared at the child's innocence and enthusiasm. "That's amazing. Imagine how many more colors we can add." Yet, as the deadline approached, Medusa's pulse quickened with anxiety. She had envisioned an emotional presentation that would showcase the depth of connection within the community. But time slipped away like sand through her fingers. On the night before the presentation, the group gathered at Rebecca's house. The walls adorned with slips of papers covered in names and stories. The atmosphere crackled with anticipation and fear. "Are we ready?" Walter asked, casting his gaze around the circle. Medusa felt the weight of his question. Were they ready? Would it be enough to change a heart? "We have to trust our stories," she said, her voice wavering. "They're real, they matter. Together, we can show Mr. Thompson the beauty of this journey we've shared." But even as the words left her lips, Medusa wondered deep inside, what if they shared everything? And it still wasn't enough? As they settled in for the night, a chill crept into her thoughts. Tomorrow was the tipping point, the moment they had to prove their worth, their message of art's healing power. Would she be able to make him see? The question lingered, taunting her, echoing in the silence of the dimly lit room. What if the truth behind their stories was more powerful than they ever realized? The morning sun peered through Rebecca's kitchen window, casting golden rays across the hastily put-together table, cluttered with notes and coffee cups. Medusa felt the fluttering in her stomach. It was the day. Each passing hour only amplified her whirlwind of thoughts. She looked around at her friends, their faces showing a mixture of hope and uncertainty. Each line on their brows told a story of its own. "Okay, everyone," Medusa called out, rising to her feet. "Today we share our voices. This is more than just art. It's our community, our stories. We can do this." With each word, her heart raced. They gathered their notebooks and equipment, moving like a team preparing for a big game. Outside, the world felt alive. Birds chirped, children's laughter echoed, and the smell of freshly cut grass filled the air. But all that Medusa could focus on was the looming fear of Mr. Thompson's reaction. They arrived at the park, where makeshift chairs had been set up facing the empty mural, waiting. Medusa could envision it. Vibrant colors, heartfelt messages, the community's spirit bursting forth. She took a deep breath, pulling strength from the stories they had gathered, allowing them to wash over her like a balm. When Mr. Thompson arrived, he looked overwhelmed. The community gathered around him, a melting pot of emotions, each person holding a piece of the mural, their stories, and ready to share. Medusa's heart pounded as she caught his gaze. The moment felt like a delicate thread, hanging, as if at any moment it could snap. One by one, they took turns sharing. Joan spoke first, recounting her beautiful memory of painting after her husband passed. Her voice cracked, but there was a power behind it. Medusa could see Mr. Thompson's eyes soften, a flicker of understanding sparking within them as others took their turns. The little boy with his vibrant crayon drawing, the teenage girl who found solace in graffiti art, the single mother who poured her pain into a canvas. Each story painted a picture of resilience. Medusa watched as the wall of doubt around Mr. Thompson began to crumble. Medusa felt tears prick at her eyes when Walter, clutching his own story, spoke of how art had united the community through struggles. "These stories matter because they're not just ours. They're a reflection of us together," he said passionately. A wave of warmth engulfed Medusa. It was as if every shared emotion and each heartfelt tale was a brushstroke on the mural they were about to create. They were redefining art, turning it into a mirror that reflected the true spirit of their town. After everyone finished, silence settled like a blanket. Medusa could feel the collective anticipation. All eyes were on Mr. Thompson. He looked around at the group, taking in the nuances of their stories, the vulnerability and strength behind them. I never realized he began. His voice steady yet awakened. I've always seen art as just paint on a wall. But this, he gestured around to the gathered community. This is alive. You've opened my eyes to what art truly means. A spark ignited in Medusa's heart. Could they really begin to change his mind? Their stories had created a bridge. She held her breath, repeating a silent mantra in her head. Please let it be enough. Just as hope began to swell within her, Mr. Thompson continued. I think we need to reconsider our project. I want to make this mural a reality, but it will take all of us working together. Medusa felt her heart race. But just before she could celebrate, Mr. Thompson glanced down. However, I also believe there needs to be more oversight. Her stomach dropped. The thrill of triumph was cut short by the shadow of doubt. Would oversight stifle their voice? Would their heartfelt stories be altered? As the group stood in poised silence, awaiting more, Medusa realized today was just one battle in a larger war. What if their collective strength wasn't enough to push through? Tension hung in the air like a thick fog. Medusa glanced at her friends, their faces reflecting her own apprehension. They had poured so much of themselves into this project. A mural that represented their stories, their struggles, their triumphs. The thought of someone else coming in and diluting that was enough to make her heart race and her hands tremble. What do you mean by more oversight? Someone murmured from the back of the crowd, breaking the silence with an edge of disbelief. Mr. Thompson looked momentarily taken aback. He shifted his weight, glancing from face to face. I just think with a project of this magnitude, it might be wise to have guidelines. We want to ensure everything aligns with community standards. Discontent rippled through the group. Murmurs grew louder beneath the surface, like an impending storm. Medusa felt the urge to shout, to defend their vision, but words caught in her throat. She was scared. Scared of what guidelines would mean for their art and their voices. Walter, sensing the brewing frustration, stepped forward. Art isn't about guidelines. It's about freedom. We need to express ourselves authentically. This mural is our heart laid out, he said, voice steady and firm. It was a call to arms. The crowd began to nod, a chorus of agreement rising like a tide. Medusa could see the tide turning. Mr. Thompson's brow furrowed deeper as he took in the room's reaction. I understand, but Jones stepped up next, placing a gentle hand on Walter's shoulder. Mr. Thompson, we're not asking for permission to tell our stories. We're offering you a glimpse into who we are. Oversight might drown that out. Is that what you want? The words hung in the air, heavy with truth. The crowd fell silent again, this time with a weight of solidarity. Medusa felt her heart surge, as if pulled by the strength of her friend's support. She stepped forward, her pulse quickening. Mr. Thompson, we respect your position. We know you want what's best for our community. But this mural is about us finding our voice. It's about healing and unity. We promise to work with you, but not at the cost of what makes our stories special. We can be a team without dismissing who we are. Mr. Thompson's expression was a mix of surprise and contemplation. Medusa held her breath, hoping her words echoed the earnestness of her heart. For a moment, time felt suspended. He appeared to wrestle with his own internal conflict, perhaps realizing the weight of the stories laid bare before him. The community is always evolving, he finally responded, his voice less authoritative. How can I make sure its evolution includes everyone? A buzz of chatter ignited among the group, ideas sparking like fireflies in the summer night. Medusa felt hope swell within her again. Perhaps they could co-create something beautiful where all their voices were heard, something that didn't compromise but instead built a richer tapestry of expression. As conversations unfolded around her, Medusa caught sight of little Mia, the girl with the crayons, eagerly whispering ideas with a neighbor. Her face radiated joy, and for the first time today, Medusa realized their battle hadn't been in vain. Maybe they could advocate for their art and make sure everyone's voice rang loud and clear. Yet beneath the surface of hope, a new worry began to bubble. What if this collaboration meant compromising something she held dear? As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm glow over the gathered crowd. Medusa knew this was just the beginning. There were still hurdles ahead, and the fragility of their collective dream worried her. Would Mr. Thompson truly embrace their art as their own? Or would the weight of oversight stifle the very stories that were meant to soar? Heart racing again, she turned to the group. Let us keep building this vision. Together. But she couldn't shake the gnawing discomfort. What if their greatest test lay ahead? What if they persevered through only to face something even more daunting? They all nodded in agreement, unaware of the shifts slowly rumbling just beneath the surface. The mural would be theirs, but at what cost? The energy of the crowd sparked with renewed hope, but Medusa felt a weight on her chest. She tried to shake it off as they gathered in small groups, exchanging ideas and visions for their mural. Laughter and creativity floated in the air, but underneath that joy, a quiet dread festered. The murmurings of Mr. Thompson's suggestion lingered in her mind like an ominous shadow. She glanced around the vibrant colors of examples they had brought, sketches and notes scattered like fallen leaves on a warm day. Each work echoed a unique story, a personal struggle that had become part of their shared narrative. Medusa took a deep breath, trying to replenish the enthusiasm that the gathering once brought her. Still, the pit in her stomach churned. "Medusa, are you all right?" Walter asked. His voice gentle yet penetrating. She met his eyes, finding a well of concern. I'm worried. What if the guidelines strip away the essence of what we want to say?" Her palms fisted at her sides, struggling to rein in the simmering frustration. "Hey, you're not in this alone." He stepped closer, lowering his voice as if sharing a secret. "We all feel it, but we find strength in each other. Trust that we can handle whatever comes." But trust in the unknown felt like walking a tightrope above a canyon with no net. Medusa gave a small nod, grateful for his support, even as doubt fogged her clarity. As the meeting continued, Mr. Thompson gradually moved to the center, signaling for attention. "Thank you all for your input. I want to offer a chance for you to present your ideas tomorrow in front of the community council. Let us frame this according to what you envision, but I'll need to ensure it remains within the bounds of structure. That's all I'm asking." A round of applause broke out, but Medusa remained silent. She could hear the hesitation slipping through the cracks of the applause, whispers threading through the crowd. This wasn't just about art, it was about identity and voice. Tomorrow. The word hung heavy. Her friends glowed with anticipation. Yet the thought of presenting felt like stepping into the lion's den in the days leading to their presentation. They spent every moment they could at the community center, refining their thoughts, visualizing their mural, pouring every ounce of passion into the sketches. Medusa felt the spark of creativity ignite within her, yet it always returned to the fear of their art being misinterpreted. When it was late, after everyone had gone home, she stood alone in front of the murals, letting her fingertips trace the outlines of their dreams on the canvas. "What if they don't understand?" she whispered to no one. "What if we lose it all?" Just then, she felt a tug at her heart. It was the memory of Mia. The girl had approached her one afternoon, her eyes wide, asking why Medusa created art. "I want to tell a story that makes my heart feel big," Mia said, innocence shining with a desire so pure it disarmed Medusa. "Then let us make it big," she had replied, a spark igniting within her once more. Now, with that memory echoing in her mind, Medusa felt something shift. She locked her gaze on the blank spaces where the mural would flourish, the stories waiting to be unearthed. Tomorrow, they would gain a voice, but would it be loud enough to cut through the noise of doubt threatening to eclipse their intention? Resilience flickered within her. Perhaps this was more than just a mural. It was an opportunity to connect, to impact. As she stepped back from the canvas, determination washed over her. How would they move forward? Would their passion be enough to protect their vision? The sun dipped low, casting a golden hue over the preparations. Medusa realized the real fight was not just against guidelines, but for the very soul of their expression, and she wasn't ready to back down now. With butterflies of anticipation trembling in her stomach, she closed her eyes, wishing to courageously embrace whatever was to come. Tomorrow would be pivotal, like a single brushstroke that could sway the course of their dreams. And as she lingered, feeling the weight of the moment, a question glimmered in the air: what unexpected revelations would arise as they stood before the council? And could they overcome the fears that threatened to bind them? The dawn broke with a warm embrace, sunlight casting a golden glow over the community center. Medusa stood at the entrance, nerves coiling tightly in her stomach like a spring wound too tight. Today was the day to present their mural that represented their diverse stories, to fight for their voices to be heard, to ensure art would not just be preserved but celebrated. Around her, the townsfolk were organizing and chatting. Medusa caught glimpses of familiar smiles and nods of encouragement. But those tired moments of doubt clawed at her, whispering fears that echoed from last week. What if they were dismissed? What if Mr. Thompson's guidelines stifled their essence? As she stepped inside, her gaze fell upon the vibrant canvases they had all worked on, stories painted in every brushstroke. A flurry of laughter broke through her thoughts as Mia dashed past, clutching a paper with more crayon drawings. "Miss Medusa, look, this one is of you." The sincerity of the little girl's excitement washed over her, igniting a spark of renewed hope. "Those are beautiful, Mia." Medusa beamed, the child's glee a reminder of their purpose. They were doing this for every child, every neighbor, every spirit that yearned for expression. Standing at the front, beside Rebecca and Walter, Medusa felt the collective energy swell. The council members began taking their seats. Mr. Thompson located at the front, arms crossed in a defensive posture. Medusa couldn't help but notice the uncertainty shadowing his expression. This was it time to reveal their truth. Rebecca stepped forward first, her heart pounding in sync with Medusa's. "Thank you all for being here. Today we stand before you not just as artists but as members of this community who shared their stories." One by one, they began presenting, each neighbor bringing heart and emotion to their experiences. Joan spoke of loss but also of rebirth through art. The teenage girl shared how art provided a refuge from peer pressures. The little boy with his crayon drawing made all present chuckle, his words full of innocence and joy. Medusa watched as their stories intertwined, creating a tapestry that echoed through the room. Each tale wove a bond between them, and Medusa felt the shift in the air. Mr. Thompson leaned forward slightly, eyebrows knitting as his gaze flickered over the gathered crowd, the stories visibly penetrating the wall he built. Finally, it was Medusa's turn. Stepping up, she looked into the faces around her, those eager and proud, those pensive and solemn. "Art isn't just a picture on a wall. It's a reflection of our growth, our fears, our dreams, our very essence," she began, her heart swilling with fervor. "When I paint, I pour not just paint, but emotion, history, and the whispers of our struggles. Each brushstroke tells not just my story, but all of ours. We aren't asking for permission. We're inviting you to join us in allowing our art to heal, to inspire, and to transform." The room fell into a heavy silence, eyes focused on her, absorbing her words. The instant connection sparked a flicker of realization within Mr. Thompson. Medusa could see it, the way his shoulders began to droop, the tightening of his jaw loosening ever so slightly. If this was just one battle, it was one they needed to fight together. Medusa wasn't just standing for herself. She was standing for an entire community, for every overlooked story and every suppressed voice. As she finished with a plea, "Let us nurture our community not just through rules and guidelines but through love, through art. Let us evolve together and tell a story worth telling." The murmurs swelled in the room. The crowd radiated a warmth of support not just for her but for one another. Medusa could sense the shift. Mr. Thompson finally spoke, his voice surprisingly gentle. "You've all shown me that art isn't just chaos. It can be a powerful force for unity." He paused, drawing in a breath as though with this acknowledgement, the weight of his beliefs pressed against him. "I may still believe in the importance of our tradition, but I see now that your art can coexist with that. Perhaps it's time to redefine how we incorporate these stories." Gasps and applause erupted from the crowd, a wave of relief crashing over Medusa like warm summer rain. Tears prickled at her eyes as she met Rebecca's gaze, reflecting one another's astonishment and joy. Was this a turning point? Let us work together, Mr. Thompson continued, without strict oversight. Then let us nurture creativity while respecting our traditions. Let us create a mural that represents all of us, not just the past, but our evolving identity. As the audience roared with applause, they were ready. The weight they were carrying was gone, dissolved in the warmth of acceptance and heart. They gathered around Mr. Thompson, all ideas swirling together, collaborative and passionate. Medusa's heart swelled, bursting with a joy she had barely allowed herself to feel as they celebrated the moment. Their voices, once on the fringes of the town, had taken center stage and were shifting the narrative. Together, they began to see that change didn't erase their past. Rather, it painted a vivid, unfolding future. And at that moment, Medusa knew they were no longer just a dream. This was a living reality, one where every heartbeat counted, each voice mattered, and their stories would echo vibrantly against the canvas of time as the sun dipped below the horizon, illuminating their smiles. She felt the rush of possibility for what was yet to come. Today had transformed everything. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support and not miss out on more inspiring stories like Medusa's. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help fellow dreamers find this channel. Comment your feelings about this ending and how you connect with this journey. And don't wait not even one more second to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This community thrives on your support.